Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
How it kind of came down rep-wise, I wouldn't have minded getting him in a little bit earlier, but wanted to let that group continue to try to sustain there towards the end of the second quarter. He came in and was good to see him, engineer that touchdown drive, use his legs to steal a third down conversion. And then, we were able to punch it in, some decent run game there late with that third, fourth group kind of mixing in there, some new guys. So, but I thought overall the quarterbacks, for where we're at right now, I think we can continue to do things to help those guys.
There he is, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the 23rd ranked coaching staff in the National Football League.
Wow.
Did you guys see? Who
I
put
did.
that out? CBS or something?
I was the 30, not the 32 team.
Now we got to find this. People have been tweeting it to us all morning.
They're very upset.
Who was it, man? CBS Sports,
who cares?
maybe?
Some publication had the Vikings coaching staff ranked like 23rd among us. So you have, now I'm going to go down this path. Now you got a rookie head coach that pumped the tires to 13 wins, a team that had no business winning 13 games. It's almost like you get discredited. Well, those wins were fraudulent. Well, okay, but like he took a 9-win team and made them a 13-win team.
Yeah.
Don't you get credit for that?
Well, and here's my question.
Flores is the defensive coordinator now.
How do you go about contextualizing an entire coaching staff like that too?
Right.
Like if it was a Kevin O'Connell ranking, like at least then I can get my head around what you're trying to do. But you do realize that like these coaching staffs now across the league run how many deep, and you're trying to sort of like in one fell swoop contextualize the whole thing and give them a ranking.
Oh, the Falcons back up the assistant offensive line coach. Oh, he's a real dog.
Whoever that was who did that is getting exactly what they want, which is they're getting dialogue about something that they have, and I'm not saying this as an O'Connell or a defense of the Vikings. I'm saying this as a whole. There's no way to do that ranking.
I agree. You can rank whatever and get clicks, I guess. Yeah. But it's just funny that Brian Flores is widely regarded as one of the best defensive minds in the National Football League. Kevin O'Connell, as we talked about, it's Keenan McCardell is probably a top 3 wide receivers coach in the NFL.
The Patriots are second in that list. Bill Belichick allowed Matt Patricia to call plays last year.
They're second. The Patriots are second.
But they were second in that list. You could make an argument that Bill Belichick has done some of his worst work in the last, 3 to 5 years. So, it's just that they are getting exactly what they want, which is, did you see that ranking of the entire coaching? They knew that would be a trigger point because it's so absurd to even try it. Yeah. Good for them.
So anyways, one thing that we are sure about, TCL is not fraudulent. They offer award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning quick picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs, too. They offer mobile products, audio devices, and home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. You can learn more at TCL.com. And our friends at Federated Insurance also helping us build our business here at Score North and on Purple Daily. They've helped countless businesses over 100 years, and their corporate culture is really where it's at for them. It's grounded in equity, integrity, teamwork, and respect, and these are the 4 cornerstones that guide and navigate all of their interactions and decision-making internally and externally. If you're looking for a better offensive line for your business, risk management, protection, federatedinsurance.com is where it's at Federated. It's our business to protect yours. It's sort of an amalgamation of Judd's camp notes blended into a 53-man roster 3.0 and maybe even some reckless speculation.
Well, yeah, let's get to the breaking news first, because it became official this morning. Just now, the Vikings have made it official. Jordan, and I was talking about this on Before I Die, Phil. I went and listened to a pronunciation of his name. I heard Tiamu. I heard Tamu, which I think is correct.
Tamu, yeah.
Yeah, Tamu, which I believe is the correct one. Well-traveled quarterback has signed with the Vikings. Now, he's a camp arm, but here's why I find this to be intriguing. Tamu and Jared Hall share some of the same traits as far as their ability to try to escape pressure, very un-Cousins-like, right? So it's interesting that they are bringing in a guy who has had numerous stops, but was the XFL Offensive Player of the Year with the DC Defenders this past season. I think he's coming in as more of a camp arm right now. But nonetheless, whenever you bring a quarterback in, especially into a system that is guided by a former quarterback himself and a very quarterback-friendly coach, I think it's far more intriguing than when they brought a camp arm with Zimmer as coach. So that's now official. That's now official is that he has been signed by the Vikings.
So we kind of touched on this in the middle of our preseason game 2 recap. So I guess now we can kind of make it a headline conversation here before we get into your 53. I wonder, does this have anything? Because sometimes you just want an extra arm. Hey, wow, we're in the dog days of training camp. Kirk Cousins just turned 35 years old. Let's make sure that when we're not doing the joint practices and stuff, let's not put too many throws on the arm of Kirk Cousins. Nick Mullins has been, Jaron Hall seems like he's barely getting reps in practice, right? So
yes,
let's get another arm in here, even with the individual drills and stuff. There is a component to that, but I do wonder, I'm going to say Tamu. That's how I'm going to pronounce it for the purposes of this podcast.
I think that's correct, Tamu.
He was the XFL's Offensive Player of the Year. He had a really big senior season at Ole Miss in 2018. He's been a part of NFL camps. Houston took him in 2019. And he's done a really good job for chunks in the USFL and XFL. In terms of if you're looking at a third quarterback spot, and it's Jaron Hall, your 5th-round draft pick, who's moldable, but only like a year younger than Jordan Ta'amu, who graduated like 5 years ago. That's the crazy thing. One of them has hundreds of professional pass attempts. Now, make fun of the XFL and USFL all you want, but it's football. And there's dozens and dozens of those guys who are leaving their league to go and be part of NFL training camps, right? So I do wonder, is this legit competition for the third quarterback spot? Is this someone they view as an actual prospect? Because he's not that old. He's 26 or something? Yeah. Or is it just a camp arm? That's my biggest question.
So his stops since being undrafted, and as you said, Phil, started off with the Texans, have been the Texans, the Chiefs, the Lions, back to the Chiefs, back to the Lions, Washington, Carolina. But before he got experience in first the USFL and then the XFL. I think what this might be is, I think it might be not just a camp arm, but O'Connell was saying after the game on Saturday that actually in the blazing heat on Wednesday and Thursday in the joint practices against the Cardinals, he has decided he's not going to change up his reps and that he is actually going to get Kirk and the first team more reps than they got against the Titans last week. And so Nick Mullins has made a lot of throws. I wonder if Jaron Hall gets the start against the Cardinals on Saturday in the preseason finale, and then Tamu comes in and plays the second half. Now, the reason why I think this is at least a discussion is this. I think we have to assume that whenever Kevin O'Connell signs off on the signing of a quarterback, it's at least worth watching and monitoring because he played quarterback. So I think this is far more like when Zimmer would bring in a cornerback, right? Because it's okay, this guy knows what he's looking at there. Mm-hmm. So do I expect Tamu to make the roster, the 53? Absolutely not. Do I think that they are going to take a look? Do I think it's interesting what his attributes are? Yes, I do. And I think it's interesting that if you watch Tamu's highlights and Jaron Hall, both have some of the same characteristics, and they're not characteristics Kirk necessarily has. So as we try to deduct, and I am, just to be very, very clear here, I am not saying either one of those guys is going to replace Kirk. But what I am saying is I wonder if O'Connell is interested in their skill set, and that's the skill set, because it would make a lot of sense that he eventually is looking for when Kirk Cousins is no longer the quarterback of the Vikings.
Do you want his RAS score?
Football. All right, let me RAS.
His relative athletic score?
Yep. Let's hear it.
Let's go. We'll compare it to Jaron Hall here. Let me just make sure I got the right ones here.
Love quarterback talk. There's nothing like it on a Monday morning.
So, Jaron Hall Well, we know that Jaren Hall is he's listed at 6 feet. I don't know about that. I think Jaren. I guess technically this is from the combine. So Jaren Hall just barely 6 feet.
Okay.
Excuse me. Tamu is 6'2", 221. This is what he was a few years ago out of the combine, by the way.
Sure.
So the XFL might have him listed differently. He's about 15 pounds heavier than Jaren Hall. In terms of 40-yard dash, Jaren Hall can scoot a little bit better. Okay, he had a 91st percentile 40-yard, a 4.64. Jordan Ta'amu, a 74th percentile 40, a 4.77. So in terms of like mobility and scooting around, Jaren Hall faster. Vertical jump, not good for Jordan Ta'amu. 20th percentile in the vertical jump. I don't know. Jaren Hall might not have done the vertical jump. It's not listed here.
Well, then why did the Vikings draft him? Why would you take a guy if you don't know what his vert is?
What about the 3-cone? You want to hear about his 3-cone? Okay.
Football.
Jaren Hall, a 76th percentile 3-cone, a 74th percentile 3-cone for Jordan Ta'amu. So, Ta'amu's a little bit bigger.
Yep.
They both have pretty similar. So a 67 percentile RAS for Ta'amu, 79th percentile. Hall considered a little bit higher in the relative athletic score.
I think we might see them both extensively on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised if Mullins doesn't play. Like he has gotten the first half in the first 2 games. And to your point, in the joint practices, he's getting some work. So like I don't know how much more that you need to see from Nick. I think he's got the system down. I think he's fine. So
take a look at some young guys.
You know what this is? This is going into the football lab and seeing what else you can get.
Football.
Can we so do you want to start with your 53 man here with a little more reckless speculation, this Greedy Williams stuff?
Yes, I do.
Reckless speculation.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So I spent my weekend going to Twins games, the Vikings game, but more importantly, connecting dots, because I like to connect dots here in the lab, in my football lab. I like to connect dots. And Greedy Williams, 2019 second round pick of the Cleveland Browns, was cut on Saturday by the Eagles. Now he had been, the Eagles actually defensive backfield's good, and he had been, the cornerback had been auditioning for what amounted to a backup role. He signed a 1-year, $1.35 million contract, but $600,000 guaranteed. So he got a nice guarantee for a guy who got cut this quickly. Now here is where things tie together a bit. Because he was drafted by the Browns in 2019, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the Vikings GM, had not arrived yet, but he did the next season. And so Kwesi is familiar with Greedy. The unfortunate thing for him is that in Greedy's time, in 2019, he played in 12 games and made 12 starts. So he arrived as a starter, but missed 4 games with a hamstring injury. He missed all of 2020, and this is where his career sort of goes off track. He missed all of 2020 because of a nerve damage in his shoulder. He came back in 21 to play 16 games and make 8 starts, in which he had a pretty good year. 10 passes defensed, 2 picks, and that's when Kwesi was there. And he missed 1 game because of the shoulder problem. And then last year with the Browns, he played in 11 games, 1 start, so he missed 6 games. And those were not because of injury. Those were because of the staff's decision not to play him.
He was a backup with the Browns.
He was a
last
backup.
year,
Exactly right. Now, but here's the other interesting sort of side note that involves the Vikings. Greedy played college football at LSU. He crossed paths with none other than Justin Jefferson. Greedy was there from 2016 to 18, got drafted in 2019. Justin was there from 2017 to 19, got drafted in 20, and I did some sleuthing last night in the lab, and Sports Dad found out that the two are actually very close friends. So I think the question is,
Reckless speculation.
would a team without a lot of depth, and I am not saying Greedy would step in and start, okay? But Greedy went to Philadelphia, which has good depth.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. The Vikings might say, well, it didn't work out there, but we don't have as much depth. Could Greedy be introduced to this defense as a depth guy. And I don't think the fact if Kwesi liked him, that's going to help. And if he's close friends with Justin, that sure as hell ain't going to hurt. Greedy Williams, a name to keep an eye on.
It's really, really interesting. It checks a lot of boxes. You went through kind of the LSU. I don't know how much you would put it stock into, hey, who should we bring in here? Who's friends with Justin Jefferson?
Right.
But it is, it's an interesting connection. The fact that he was a second-round pick, kind of a top half of the second round as the 46th selection by the Browns. Kwesi, we have seen in his, year and a half as the Vikings general manager, loves the former first and second round picks. N'Keal Harry came in here as a former second round pick from that draft. Those guys were drafted within a couple picks of each other. Greedy Williams and N'Keal Harry. Just a guy that maybe hasn't panned out to his full potential, but isn't old yet because he's only 25 years old.
Yeah.
So, and right now you've got major question marks with inexperience and some injuries, although it sounds like a Caleb Evans is fine, right? And then Andrew Booth Jr., right now he's fine, but he's been hurt. How would you find a room on the roster for Greedy Williams? Would you keep an extra corner? And this is a good segue into your 53, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did.
Would you reduce
there
from somewhere else? Does somebody start the season on injured reserve? By the way, Greedy Williams, really good RAS score. Really good RAS score.
He's a good player.
8.5. It's an 85th percentile RAS. He also ran, I forgot about this, he ran a 4.37 40-yard dash at the 2019 NFL Combine.
Football.
And it's a shoulder problem. It's a shoulder problem. So now that's a concern now for sure. But I'm just saying, if you're going to give former Patriots second round pick Joanne Williams a long look, it's sort of the same thing, right? It's two guys who probably for different reasons were high picks, underachieved. I don't think it's beyond, I think it's reckless speculation, but I think it's incredibly founded reckless speculation.
And I'd have to dig deeper in terms of so PFF does not grade Greedy Williams all that well over his 1,300 career snaps. He grades better as a tackling corner than a cover corner. But again, there's a lot of stops and starts and injuries, and 2021 was probably his best season. I would wonder at 6'2" and a sub 440 at the combine a few years ago. Does he profile as a guy that would be good in single coverage, jamming at the line of scrimmage, or his ability to bail back, right, and run, step for step with fast wide receivers? I'd have to dig more into sort of the scouting report here, but this is a guy that might profile as a potential Viking, depending on what Brian Flores is looking for.
And we both saw in the Thursday practice a Caleb Evans go down and get removed immediately by the coach because of concussion concerns. And it does sound like he's fine, and that's fantastic. But that has to be a season-long thought, right? Because he's going to be a starting corner. And he took a football hit. That was not a oh my God, it looks like he took a football hit, and it scares you because of the fact that he had 3 concussions a year ago. So I think that has to be in the back of your mind all year that he's going to try and play. I'm not trying to rip the kid, but I am saying there's got to be a thought that we have to be prepared here because it's not a backup. He's going to be a starter. And if he goes out, who's the next man up?
Yeah. So, hey, can we, instead of going all the way through your entire 53, unless you want to fly through, can we just highlight where you have changes?
I'll go through the entire 53, but fly through it. Okay. Because a lot of it stayed the same, but the decisions got tougher. Today's 3.0, kids, is going to be about decisions and how decisions become tougher the more that you're around your family and the more that you grow accustomed to seeing them. Decisions become tougher, even if those decisions remain unchanged. So I'm gonna fly through this, and I'll stop at where the decisions get tough.
Yeah. Okay.
And feel free to push back too this time, because I feel like now we're all in our own labs and we're talking about the cuts. So I feel like this would actually be a good time for me to throw out my ideas and for you two to push back.
Okay. Let's literally fly through the positions that you have, like quarterback, whatever, that you have no changes at,
Yep.
And we will only stop you on those if we disagree, like, and say, no, there should be a change, so that because we're 20 minutes in and we got a lot on our plate here at Score North this morning. So let's do it.
Okay. Quarterback, no change. Cousins, Mullins, Hall. I almost cut Hall, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because of KOC. So, like, could there be a temptation to try to get him through to the practice squad? Absolutely. Do I think some head coaches would do that? But with the new rules on keeping a quarterback on the 53 and that guy being eligible to play as a third QB, I stuck with status quo there, although I do think it might be a discussion.
He was better in the second preseason game. If he keeps progressing, then I agree with this.
Yes, he was. The running back, I'm still keeping 4. They kept 5 a year ago. I'm keeping Madison, Chandler, Ham, and I'm still keeping Wongwu, but this one's gotten dicey. Wongwu hasn't practiced still. He hasn't played. He needed to play. He needs reps. If you put him on IR during the final cuts, he's going to be ineligible to play in the season. Those IR moves of returning have to be made after the final cuts. Now, the problem is this. Dwayne McBride, Abram Smith, Aaron Dykes. None of those 3 strike me as they're going to knock Wongwu off the roster. So here's what I'm thinking. Would they IR Wongwu and actually pick up somebody in the waiver process? But I do think they're going to keep at least 4 players, including Ham, at that spot.
Yeah. Aaron Dykes, interesting. I don't know that I saw enough explosiveness in the reps that he got in that preseason game to say, oh my gosh, here's a guy that needs to make the roster. We'll see.
Yep. Tight ends, Hawkinson, Oliver, and Munt. So here's where it gets tough a little bit, though. Nick Muse is making a push, and I don't think you get him through to the practice squad. He has put on tape for teams film that could very well make him a third tight end elsewhere. But I don't know how he makes this 53. So I think you're going to cut him, and I think you're going to lose him, but I don't know what the alternative is.
If Johnny Munt is the best third tight end, is Nick Muse the best fourth tight end in the National Football League then?
I mean, it's
certainly
up for discussion.
He's looked good. He's looked good in the games. He can catch the ball. He can block a little bit.
Yeah, it is certainly up for discussion. So but what's the age difference there? So Johnny Munt's a grizzled veteran. I mean, Nick Muse was a draft pick in 2022. I mean, do you really want to let a guy that maybe has some upside that could be in the mix for the next few years? Would you choose Munt just because he's a veteran presence and knows the system?
Can you call Munt the best third tight end in the entire league and then cut his ass?
It's tough. It is tough.
All right. Wide receiver, we do have change. We have sudden change.
Oh, hold on. We have the change. The change alarm is going off.
The change alarm is going off. Now, this is 1.0 and 3.0 are going to agree a little bit here. 2.0, I changed it. Jefferson, Osborne, Addison, and Powell are my top 4. But I now have Jalen Reagor, who I had being cut last time, making the roster. And I have, at this point in time, Jalen Naylor going on IR because I don't think you want to lose him. Yeah. But he has not practiced since the first day of camp. And at some point in time, you need to practice. So I have the Vikings keeping 5, not 6. And I'm a little bit concerned about Addison's long-term health here. Like, he's been hurt twice now. Got hurt, obviously missed all of the offseason camps, and then is hurt again now in concussion protocol. N'Keal Harry could have helped his cause a lot if he hadn't been injured on Saturday. He didn't play, which was clearly disappointing as well. So Jalen Reagor, for right now, wide receiver 5, back in the good graces.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think 5 is the number. So this makes sense to me. 5 is the number, and right now, there's no way you can put Naylor on the active roster if he hasn't practiced in a month, right? If it was Justin Jefferson, okay, he comes back, TJ Hawkinson, whatever, like, they don't need to be on IR. But Jalen Naylor probably needs to be on IR. So.
And you get now multiple designations, or reinstatements, I should say, from the IR now in the NFL, right?
Not if you do it in the final cut down. They're out for the season. From the research I did,
really?
If you put him, so if in that final cut down, you IR him, he's done. If you put him on the 53 and then IR'd him after the 53 is done, he can return. But the point is, I'm not going to cut Reagor for Naylor and then IR because Reagor will get picked up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's what I found. I did extensive research and asked around because that to me was unclear. But yes, you need to be on the 53 to start the season. Then you can be IR'd. Offensive line, they're going to keep 10. I just think that's what they kept a year ago. That's what I've consistently had them keeping. But I have a change here. I have one change.
Oh, hold on. Oh, we got the
sudden change.
The change-o-meter.
Let's go.
The change alarm.
Okay. I have a placeholder on the 10-man depth chart list because Chris Reed remains out, and we've been waiting for him to come back, and he has not come back yet. And again, at some point, I'm not sure if they're going to just allow him to come back. He's on. They have not told us exactly what's wrong. It looks like his hand, but I don't know for sure. So I have Josh Sokol, actually, the center guard, being kept as a placeholder and immediately cut then for somebody that they would pick up out of the cuts made by other teams on, I believe it's Tuesday, August 29th. Or if at that point in time, you're closing in on signing Dalton Reisner, let's say after the first week of the regular season, so his salary is not guaranteed. But Josh Sokol, just to be clear here, I've got him making it now, but it's more as a guy that will hold a place until you make another move.
Yeah. Josh Sokol, by the way, the 6th highest graded Vikings player in the preseason, according to Pro Football Focus. Only 2 pressures allowed on 25 pass blocking snaps. So not terrible, according to Pro Football Focus.
25 players on offense. That's what we have being kept on the 53.
So, all right. So 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 3 tight ends, 5 wide receivers, and 10 hog mollies up front to block or not for Kirk Cousins.
And speaking of that, if you don't want to be a hog molly, if you're a hog molly right now and you're saying to yourself, I don't want to be a hog molly no more. I want to be in great shape. I want to be looking good. Well, then I've got one answer. Yes, the same answer that Sports Dad on the left and right, that's the same guy came up with, and that is to go to our friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. And you're saying, okay, Judd, I got a lot of options. Why this one? And I'm going to tell you right now, because Livia was just named Minnesota's best weight loss program for the 3rd year in a row. That's 14 years of changing lives, 14 years of success in weight loss. And that means that there's an offer right now, 3 months free if you join today, 3 months free if you join today. Limited time offer, 855-GO-LIVEA, Livia.com, LIVEA.com. A hog molly no more. Get all those clothes to fit, Livia.com. You'll be glad you did it.
If you don't want your dog to be a hog molly, maybe you should try Nutrisource. Nutrisource Pet Foods. Can I be honest with you guys here for a second?
Yeah.
There's Maya Mackey there on the screen. So we had a circumstance over the weekend where we gave Maya some non-Nutrisource treats.
Oh boy.
Her body rejected those treats because she is a Nutrisource girl. Literally, like, it repulsed her so much that we would put something not Nutrisource inside her body. So stick to the Nutrisource treats, the food, the kombucha.
Stella is giving you a look right now, Phil. She's mad because she is sitting by her training rewards treats, and she's saying, you gave my friend Maya non-Nutrisource, you SOB.
Yes, it was not smart.
Well, that's funny because yesterday we got back from the cabin. It's always bath time when we come back from the cabin because Vinny, he runs around in the sand, there's dirt, there's the water, so we guys got to give him a bath, and he always cowers. Now he knows the second we get home from the cabin, he goes and hides because he knows it's bath time. But I will say, what helps out during the bath time is the Nutrisource treats. At least Vinny does know when he gets the bath that he does not want, he does get rewarded with some delicious Nutrisource treats.
NutrisourcePetFoods.com if you want happy, healthy, and also well-regulated digestive system dogs like we have. NutrisourcePetFoods.com to find a Nutrisource retailer near you. Also, a shout-out to our friends over at EcoFun. So EcoFun has 2 metro locations, one in Forest Lake off 35 and another one in Burnsville off 35W and County Road 42. You can see one of the showrooms right here, the electric bikes, the scooters. The scooters, by the way, run from 49cc up to 300cc. So, you know, if you got hills in your neighborhood, maybe you opt for the 300cc. But these things, in terms of the gas mileage too, you can save a lot at the pump by just riding a scooter around for the next couple months. You can average 64 to 115 miles per gallon. You just need a driver's license to ride a 49cc moped in the state of Minnesota. But check them out. We've had some friends of the show here, Purple Daily, already purchased electric bikes in the last couple weeks at EcoFun. If you do go in, tell them that we sent you and go to ecofunmotorsports.com, ecofunmotorsports.com. All right, let's check on the defense. Judd's 53-man roster 3.0.
Defensive line, keeping 6 guys, same as last year. I have no changes. So that means Harrison Phillips, Dean Lowry, Kyrese Tonga, Juqualan Roy, Jonathan Bullard, Usezi Otomo. But I do have reservations here because Roy, who was, I believe, a 5th-round draft pick, has been hurt again for a good portion of camp now. And I'm wondering if Ross Blacklock could take his spot. In keeping Otomo and Roy, they're 2 draft picks from the last 2 drafts. Blacklock acquired in a trade with the Texans. So Kwesi invested in all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So for right now, I'm not making changes, but I do think that at some point here, Roy has to come back or else there's going to be a decision to be made. And I do think cutting Blacklock, who was in the game late, which indicates to me his job is in jeopardy, but I do think that there's going to be some conversation there. So in 4.0, this is very open for change here. I mean, guys who aren't playing have to come back at some point. And if they're hurt, they're going on IR and probably just going to be shelved. So this is not we're at the point of camp now, which basically has a week left, where you can't just be, I'm still out. At some point in time, decisions have to be made.
Yeah, and there's a week left of training camp, but there's 8 days left until they have to make a 53-man roster out of it. And then from there, you start practicing for week 1. So, exactly. I mean, even if you come back this week, are you going to come? Some of these guys are, let's say Wangwu comes back. Are they going to put him in a high competition joint practice against the Cardinals? Oh, it's Monday. I'm feeling good. Wednesday, the Cardinals are in town. He's probably not going to do anything this week meaningful, right?
Yes, exactly right. And I got to think that across the board, there's probably not frustration with everyone who's out, but there's always frustration with some.
That's the weird dance in football. It's like these guys are putting their bodies on the line. They're banged up. They're hurt, but coaches need them in the game. It's like, oh.
Do you want to make the team?
Yeah,
that's the question. Okay, outside linebacker, we have change.
So we have this is the edge department here.
Edge rushers.
Oh my goodness.
We have change. We are going down to, I believe in 2.0, I kept 6. We're going down to 5.
Okay.
Daniil Hunter, Marcus Davenport, DJ Wanham, Patrick Jones II, Louis Villain, odd man out, Andre Carter II.
So Andre Carter's the odd man.
He's the odd man out. He's out right now. And here's why. So the con against doing this is he got $300,000 guaranteed to sign as a UDFA and a $40,000 signing bonus, played college football at Army, started training camp on the pup. And quite frankly, I have not seen him do much as far as flashing. Mm-hmm. If Ivan Pace is a 10 on the flash meter, right? We've seen him do a ton. Andre Carter is about maybe a 2. And so if you were to say, if you're creating space for guys, which you need to do defensively, I think that there's, first of all, a very good chance that despite the fact that you paid him pretty well, you get Andre Carter through to the practice squad. And second of all, I can't justify him taking up a 53. And at the end of the day, if you sit down and say, okay, what have our UDFAs done? Pace has been great. So 50% there is not bad.
Correct. And I know we keep rightfully so bringing up that, hey, they're guaranteeing $300,000 to a couple UDFAs because that's a lot of money to guarantee to a guy that doesn't get drafted. But in perspective, the salary cap is over $200 million. So we're talking about a fraction of a percentage point of the overall salary cap. I don't think they would keep an inferior player just because he makes more money guaranteed or has a guaranteed bonus or whatever. That might be part of the decision making, but they're going to look for the players that can help them the most in 2023 and beyond. So
Absolutely.
I think it's pretty obvious that Pace is much further ahead through 3 weeks of training camp than Carter is. Yeah. Okay.
Inside linebacker, no changes. Asamoah kept, although, again, he has not played in a preseason game, and he's been out for 2 weeks now. Jordan Hicks, Troy Dye, who had a pick in the game on Saturday, and Ivan Pace Jr. The only issue here is, and I don't think he's going to make it, but Troy Reader at times has flashed. Like, he's shown up for sure. Tanner Vallejo, who they signed a couple of weeks ago, is more of a special teams ace. Like, he is an inside linebacker on the depth chart. He's more of a special teams guy. And so both of those guys, I think, could compete for a 5th spot. But they kept 4 inside linebackers a year ago. I think they stick with that. And the only question is Asamoah prepared to start the season now? Because we still don't know what's wrong there. He hasn't participated in practice or a game for 2+ weeks now. So that might be a concern. But I think if Asamoah is set to go, it's Asamoah, Hicks, Dye, and Pace.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how about that group right there? So the only guy with legitimate NFL experience is Hicks, and he's one of the more senior linebackers in the league. And then you've got undrafted free agent Pace, who looks like he might be your second best player of those 4. And then Asamoah, who we're trying to crown here as a starting linebacker who's going to do damage, like hasn't played in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So just a really interesting giant question mark at that position for the Vikings. Okay.
Absolutely. All right, safety. So this was difficult. The safety position has become difficult as far as cuts go. Harrison Smith makes it. Bynum makes it. Metellus, Lewis Seen, who good or bad is going to make it, and Jay Ward, a 4th-round pick from LSU, who can also play the corner as well. But here's the tough thing: that's 5 safeties, and it's not Theo Jackson, who got banged up on Saturday night, but has been outstanding. Theo Jackson has been better than Seen, and again, he's a guy I think if you cut, he's going to get a job on a 53, but they're not going to keep 6 safeties. And I don't think you're going to cut Jay Ward for Jackson, which would be the only cut I think that you could make there. So I think Theo Jackson, that's what I gave zero thought to when I did roster construction for the 53 1.0, and it was actually really difficult this time around.
So how would they, so we have 5 safeties here. Would they try to find a spot for Theo Jackson? Is there some creative thing here? Would they try to trade Lewis Seen?
I mean, I guess you could.
They wouldn't cut. You don't think they would? I know that the salary cap ramifications
Seen.
Don't make sense to cut him, but like
they're not going to cut him. No, I think Jay Ward would be the guy that I think might be on the bubble, but he's a 4th-round pick. So like,
dude, if you're cutting 4th-round picks,
a versatile one. And I don't think Jay Ward's done a thing to get himself cut. It's just that Jackson has flashed so much.
Yeah.
Like, I've consistently been impressed, and he's a guy who's going to get picked up if he is dropped. But I don't know the creative move, because if you
would they trade Bynum?
No, they love Bynum.
They love him too much.
Those top 3 guys, Smith, Bynum, Metellus, are gold.
But if they like Theo Jackson, and I've seen some of the stuff that you've seen too, which is like he's out. Look who he's practicing with, and look at some of the plays he's making.
I'm with you.
Interesting. Okay, I'm just throwing ideas out here. I'm not advocating for a Bynum. I know what people are going to be like. Maggie wants Bynum traded for Theo Jackson. I'm not saying that. I'm just if they like Theo Jackson, I'm looking for creative ways to clear a safety spot.
These are the conversations that go on behind closed doors. We're bringing them to you in real time. It's unbelievable. Yeah. All right. Cornerback, no changes. Five corners kept, keeping in mind that Jay Ward can actually play corner in a complete pinch. Last year, they kept 6. Byron Murphy Jr., Caleb Evans, Joanne Williams, Mekhi Blackman, Andrew Booth Jr. But again, I'm probably cutting the guy who has had the best special teams camp, Najee Thompson.
See, I feel like Najee Thompson has a good chance to make the team. This is where, let's play a game here. Yep. So Najee Thompson is the guy that if you're watching that preseason game, he made that tackle and his helmet popped off. And then did he get put in concussion protocol after that?
He was concussed. Yes, he did.
So, yeah, he was in there just flying around. And then back to the beginning of the show here real quick. Greedy Williams is a free agent with all those potential connections and tentacles. He's got experience.
Yep.
If you were to find room for, let's start with Najee Thompson, assuming you're still going to keep 25 offensive players and 25 defensive players, right? Which is, I think, what they would like to do.
Yep.
Where would you borrow from?
That's the problem. I was trying to do that last night, because you can't go.
Defensive line? Is there a defensive? Would they go 5 down linemen? Here's my question. Do you need 11 linemen and edge rushers, or can you get by with 10?
Well, you could probably get by with 10. So who do you cut on the? But they're not. I don't think they're going to cut an outside linebacker, because I've got 5 being kept there, which I think they keep 5 there.
I might cut it. I might cut one of the. Who give me the 6 again? Harrison Phillips is making the team.
Dean Lowry, Kyrie's Tonga, Jaquelin Roy, who was a fifth-round pick, Jonathan Bullard, and Usezi Otomo, who was I think a 4th round. He was a draft pick last year, if I'm not mistaken, a 4th-round pick last year.
I just don't know that you need 6 of those guys. But then again, that's like the beef of your defense. So, and you also need those guys on. You need those guys on like field goal units and whatever.
Right. That's what I'm saying. This is very difficult. Too much talent, you guys.
There is a lot of talent here. Not maybe enough talent to win 13 games again, but
Otomo was a 5th-round pick in 2022. But I mean, that's the question: is are you going to start to cut draft picks?
Yeah,
because you can do it.
Cutting 4th and 5th round picks though is like after a year or two. If you're and for this year's draft, Jaron Hall was a 5th round pick this year.
Yeah.
You could create a spot on your roster by just keeping 2 quarterbacks if you wanted. If you thought Najee Thompson's more valuable than Jaron Hall, but now you're cutting a 5th round pick quarterback.
Right.
A complete waste of a pick.
Who the coach probably politicked to take, right?
Yeah. Super interesting.
And like if Booth had been like a 6th round pick, you might cut him, but he's a 2nd round pick.
Yeah. Wow.
He doesn't really fit the system.
There is Judd's 3.0 53-man roster.
No changes on special teams. I know Declan's going to be happy.
Oh, sorry.
Joseph, Wright, and DePaulo.
The only guys left in camp at those positions.
Yeah.
Yep. So, wow. The defensive portion of that 53 was presented by our friends at Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden. It is tailgate season. Boy, you go outside, you can smell football season in the air. College season. Got the Gophers a week from Thursday. You got the Vikings firing up. And Fratelloni's is one of the largest Weber dealers in the state. They're here to help you kick off tailgating season. And do it in fashion with a Weber. Go to scorenorth.com and enter keyword Weber to find out more. That's scorenorth.com, keyword Weber. Or stop into one of the 20-plus metro locations of Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden. Great work today, Judd. This is one of your best training camps ever, I feel like.
You know what? I'm aging, but I'm really smart now. So like I know where to be. I am Harrison Smith.
You're like a veteran quarterback whose your body has not given out, but your mind is as sharp as it's been.
Yep. I definitely hurt more. Like my knees hurt more.
Makes sense.
My feet hurt more.
Yeah.
But I can compensate for that with a savvy that I bring to the roster construction of the Vikings.
Nice work here. Judd Zolgad's camp notes blended into a 53-man roster projection, mixed in with some reckless speculation, some breaking news. I don't know what more you want from us here on Purple Daily. Thank you guys for making this one of the most popular football podcasts in America. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. See ya.